You can buy vegetables now that never go off, can't you? I mean, you can keep them literally for weeks on end.
I've tested it.
And you must know that there's something slightly awry about that. You know, that's a chemically treated apple or a chemically treated carrot or something, right?
Yeah, you know, you get fresh vegetables or whatever whenever you put them in the fridge and then they go off in a week or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get
But I mean, we had this chlorinated chicken argument. I mean, it takes you back to sort of 2016, doesn't it? Before the referendum was even a result, and people went on and on and on about how we're all going to be poisoned by American food. Well, you know, if you've been to America, I've been to America. The food's pretty good, actually. You know, whether it's chlorinated or not, I don't really care.
And you can make a choice. Consumers can make a choice. So you can export. They can bring in the chicken, and I'm sure they'll say, you know, this chicken is American. You have made in America, and consumers, if they don't want to eat it, they don't have to eat it. If people want to get worked up and upset about it,
and I've never seen in a supermarket chicken that was made in America, and I don't imagine that if it suddenly started appearing, that people would suddenly rush to buy it.
You wouldn't see people. I mean, maybe in Waitrose you'd see people like studying where their chicken's from, but I'm sure if you go to, you know, Sainsbury's.
I mean, let's not forget Tesco's once invented an entire farm, didn't they, which didn't exist, and put this stamp of a farm on all of their products that made people think, oh, that's good. It's been made on this really nice little farm, you know, mummy and daddy farmer and their little kids and their little goats, and, you know, it's really, really nice. When in fact, it was a complete and utter construct of nonsense, you know. But as long as you put farm on it, everybody goes, oh, that's cool. Wow, must be farm reared, and it must be free range. It must be great. Speaking of fakery, how about the front page of the Daily Mail? China is handed access to NHS medical records, despite MI5 fears that health data could be misused in Beijing. I mean, so China is a real problem, isn't it?
I don't quite. I'm not sure what the strategy is when it comes to dealing with China. It's like the ultimate frenemy, where they keep on like doing bad stuff to us. We keep on saying, let's be friends.
And we keep having politicians, and thankfully there are plenty of politicians like Ian Duncan Smith who say, you know, these are dangerous people. It's a dangerous regime. It's a communist overlord that would like to take over the world and is basically taking over the world. We shouldn't be helping them to do it.
Yeah, Ian Duncan Smith, by the way, Ian Duncan Smith, I should say, has been sanctioned along with a handful of other Conservative MPs for speaking up against China. We saw what happened to Vera Hobhouse, the Liberal Democrat MP, just wanted to go and see her grandson, but she's criticised China. She's not allowed into...
Yeah, but she's a bit... she's like these two idiotic Labour MPs who went to Israel and didn't think they would have any kind of comeback.
I completely agree with that stance.
She should have known better. In the end, I mean, we could try and dictate to Hong Kong and say you should let everybody in that we tell you to let in. But, you know, unbelievable. There are some countries who actually have limits on who's allowed into their country.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is not... Mike, this is not a friendly regime.
No.
Of course, we've decided not to place China, despite protestations, perfectly legitimate protestations from senior MPs like Sir Ian Duncan Smith. It's not on the same list as Iran or in Russia. They are trying to promote economic growth and cooperation with China. Rachel Reeves has already been out to China.
Well, Lammy's been there, Rachel Reeves has been there. There's a whole bunch of Labour cabinet members that have been there, and now Jonathan Reynolds is going to go.
And if you look at, there are concerns whether it be, allowing Chinese companies with links, or supposed links to the Chinese state to build parts of our infrastructure, whether that be our 5G network. And of course, now the story in the front page of the Mail is that Chinese researchers are going to be granted access to NHS medical records. So this is, of course, despite MI5 fears that the health data could be misused by Beijing. And this is going to be, the information is being uploaded to the central database of the UK Biobank, a research hub that makes data available to universities, scientific institutes and private companies.
Right. And funny enough, Ian Duncan Smith quoted in the story, he said to the Mail last night, it's an outrageous situation. China is an unfriendly country and there should be a complete ban on any further NHS data going there. It can use medical data to develop drugs and give itself a competitive advantage, or to understand our genetic makeup and develop targeted weapons.
Yeah, I mean, China...
I mean, that sounds a bit dangerous, doesn't it?
Yeah. China doesn't need, in terms of how fast China is growing, it doesn't need any leg ups. China, I mean, is it's a powerhouse. I mean, we're not even really a competitor.
Well, because we haven't been paying very much attention, over the past 20 or so years, they've completely colonised Africa. Remember, they moved into Afghanistan after the Americans moved out, because of all the lithium that sits underneath the Kabul airport. In fact, they took it over literally within about 12 hours of the Americans leaving. They've also got loads and loads of interests in South America. They know exactly where all the sort of the precious minerals are in the world, and they own most of them.
Yeah, and they go in and they move very quickly, and they move with huge amounts of money to gain influence.
Yeah.
I remember I visited South Africa, 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
And I was taken out for a very nice dinner, and as we walked past to the private room or whatever, there was a huge delegation all sitting around dinner of South African businessmen and Chinese, and they were just doing a deal over dinner for South Africa, and they would make no bones.
And nobody has stopped them, and nobody has paid any attention to it, and it's happened, and they've basically taken over at least 2/3 of the world. And I don't see why they should have their hands on any data of ours, and that we should give them or sell them willingly. Absolutely not. Let's have a look at something slightly less serious. Yesterday we had a lot of fun with the rockets to space with Katy Perry and her feminine group of, as they were described by the BBC, 5 crew members of a rocket. They were not members of a rocket crew. All they were passengers, basically, on a 4-minute jolly into space. But a lot of people have been critical of them, right? Including the model, Emily Ratajkowski. Let's have a look at what she has to say.
At the space mission this morning, that's like, this is beyond parody. Saying that you care about Mother Earth and it's about Mother Earth, and you're going up in a spaceship that is built and paid for by a company that's single-handedly destroying the planet. Look at the state of the world and think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? What was the marketing there? And then to try to make it like, I'm disgusted, literally, I'm disgusted.
Yeah, it's not going well in the old world of femininity, is it? They're all having to go at each other, fighting like cats in a sack. And here's a response from Gayle King, who was one of the women who went up there.
This is what bothers me, because I've certainly read some of the things online, coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends. And this is what I would say to that. Space is not an either or, it's a both and. And because you do something in space, doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth. What Blue Origin wants to do is take the waste here and figure out a way to put it in space to make our planet cleaner. I mean, Jeff Bezos has so many ideas, and the people that are working there are really devoted and dedicated to making our planet a better place. That's number one. Number two, have you been? Have you been? If you've been and you still feel that way after you come back, please let's have a conversation. Number three, please don't call it a ride. That is not a friggin' ride. Whenever a man goes up, you have never said to an astronaut, boy, what a ride. You know, we duplicated the same trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day, pretty much. No one called that a ride. It was called a flight. It was called a journey, because a ride implies that it's something frivolous or something that's lighthearted. There was nothing frivolous about what we did, and the machine that we were on, and what it took for the people to get that machine up and running, to get us up and get us back down safely. So, you know, I'm very disappointed and very saddened by it. And I also say this. What it's doing to inspire other women and young girls, please don't ignore that. I've had so many women and young girls reach out to me, and men too, by the way, men too, that say, wow, I never thought I could.
Well, that was quite a long rant, wasn't it, by Gayle King? Has she been listening to Keir Starmer? Women and young girls have been inspired by what I did. She was up there for 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
I just think it's a bit, she said, the bit that struck me was that she said, well, have you ever been to space? Well, if you haven't been to space, you can't talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Nobody else can have an opinion.
It's like the old talk sport conversation we used to have, that if you never played professional football, you can't talk about it. Yeah. Oh, really? OK, then, well, let's just not have a radio station then. But, you know, it's so impossibly pompous, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to go up into space, maybe, but I don't have a spare 250,000 quid. And I'm not a mate of Jeff Bezos' wife either.
Yeah. So you can't, but then you can't have a conversation.
But this is typical of the sort of the state of the narcissistic society that we live in, right? That these people think that what they've done is available for everybody to do, and they think that nobody should be critical of them because they've done a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Women and young girls are looking up to us. No, they're not. You didn't do anything in space, and if your sole reason for going up there is to go check it out and see whether you can take some rubbish up there, well, great news for Birmingham Council. Maybe they should start a space programme, and maybe they'd get rid of the Birmingham rubbish that way.
Yeah,
it's pathetic, isn't it?
It's just, it seems like it really did. To me, it seemed frivolous.
It was frivolous.
I don't know.
It was clearly frivolous.
I don't nobody's been able to explain to me what research they've done.
They haven't done anything.
Or what they've done.
No.
They don't know?
It's a jolly. They basically went up there. They were in space.
They must have done some research. Have you not read somewhere they've done some research?
They were in space for 4 minutes. I mean, you know, Katy Perry's got songs longer than that.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I say that, but presumably I'm talking about the 12-inch disco remix, obviously. Hear Me Roar, I presume. I don't know how long it is. But it's probably nearly 4 minutes long. Anyway, I've never listened to it all the way through.
You could listen to a couple of songs on the set.
This is just put Led Zeppelin on, it goes for 12 minutes.
Right.
You know, and then you're really talking.